Hello there, this is a tutorial on how to make a Google form, specifically a class voting form using a linear scale. It's pretty easy, lots of fun to use, all that jazz. So let's get started. I use Google Chrome as my browser. You can use Firefox or Safari, Opera, whatever you want. But let's start with just searching Google Forms in our search bar here. Google Forms is part of the GSuite that Google does alongside Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Sheets, and it's a form, like a form maker application. It's this purple one right here. It should be your first one. I use Google Forms a lot and use a lot of Google products, so it's my first result, and if it's not yours, it'll be somewhere in the top. This is a landing page you should see. As you can see up here, the rest of the G Suite Docs, Sheet, Slides. We're going to click on Forms, this little purple guy. So to get to where you can actually make the forms, we have this square right here that says Personal. That's just the difference between that and Business. And you're going to click this blue square that says Google Forms. So if you're not logged in to Google, this would be the time you would have been prompted to log in. I'm logged in, so it just automatically goes to my previously made forms, as well as the option. Just go ahead and give me the opportunity to make a new one. So we're going to start a new form, which is up here in this section, and then as I mentioned, this down here section is recent forms. All your Google Docs or Slides or whatever are hosted in your Drive that your account is associated with, and that's just the benefit of it being like a cloud software. Okay, so when you're making a new form, you can use a template, or you can go ahead and create a blank. Since what we're doing is really simple and it's not an option for a template, we're just going to go ahead and click this white square with the plus in the middle to make a new form. It opens up to this page. This is just kind of everything that's default, and everything you see can pretty much be changed. What I like to start with is the title. There are two titles for you to personalize. This one up here, this one is for the name of like the file that you'll see in the drive. So you can call it whatever you want. Class voting form. If you were, for whatever reason, sorting your Google Drive in a like specific like numerical or alphabetical like sorting system, then like you could continue to. That's the purpose of having that is different. As you see, it automatically generates the same title here, but you don't have to keep that as the same title. You can change it to anything you want, and it doesn't automatically change back. It's just most people, I think they've noticed, title it the same thing, and it's nice if it just go ahead and auto generates. But like I said, if you're maybe using this as a file sort of filing organization system in your Drive, like numbering each document or however, then that's a great way to do that without having to change the title that your students see, or whoever you're sending this to won't see this title, but they'll see this one. Okay, so since this is a document that I intend to distribute to students, I like to give them a description of what exactly they're voting for. I mean, if you're distributing it to anyone, it's a good idea to give them an idea of what the criteria is that they're voting on. So let's do a sort of generic explanation here. So based on the quality of information and the quality of the presentation, please score your classmates' presentations. And then the way I design this form is that so that they will mark themselves. It's going to be on a 0 to 3 scale, and so students will be able to see themselves as an option to vote for, and they won't give themselves a numerical score of 1, 2, or 3. They'll choose themselves as 0 as to kind of be a non-vote, mark 0 or neutral. With this mark your group as 0 or neutral, and you'll see how neutral will be a label next to 0 when we go in and start personalizing. The reason I'd like them to even mark it at all, because there's an option to have them skip it, is I like them to be in. I like them to know and make sure that they did that, and then if you don't mark them all as required, then students could easily forget to vote for one of their classmates. Whereas if they're, yeah, you get the point. All right, so that's everything you can do in the title square here. Title and description. There's nothing else you can personalize here. We'll later get into like fonts and colors and stuff, but that's everything as far as information-wise. This toolbox here is what I like to call our sort of toolbox, tool belt. Doesn't apply to the title card. It only applies to what I call these question cards here. So to edit your first question, you just click anywhere on the square, anywhere at all. So another thing that, as you saw earlier, Google likes to auto-generate sometimes options for you. So depending on the question that you write out, it will auto-generate a format for it. So let's see, what is your favorite ice cream? You go ahead and does multiple choice, or how about this? Write about your favorite memory. See that? It will generate it into what it believes is like the best format for your question. Just want to make you aware of that may start to happen when you write what your question is or what your like instruction is here, and don't worry about it, you can change it. So what I'm writing is score. Let's pick someone's name. Score. See how it auto-generated the short answer? We're going to change that, but score Malik's presentation on the Amazon rainforest. So now it has auto-generated to linear scale. Sometimes it doesn't do that. I've had it where it doesn't. But the way that we decide that for sure is here are all the options for how it'll format your question. And they're kind of grouped by like similar sort of style. And so if you want to change between these styles, you see these lines here. If you change your format within those lines, if you've written something, it'll stay the same. So let's take a look. So you could do multiple choice grid, checkbox grid, because these are the same sort of group with linear scale. But if I change it to paragraph, oh, actually, oh, you know what it is? I didn't explain. So like, let's say you did checkbox and you had options. Let's say you did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on all that. It doesn't necessarily save it when you go here, and like it won't, when you go back, it won't keep it. So if you're writing anything down here in like the options section, then that doesn't like stay when you switch between methods. So my best advice is write your question and then choose your format. Don't write out, I mean, it'd be kind of silly to write out your options before you've decided your format style of the question. So you can write your question for it first, or you can choose your linear scale or your format first. I recommend writing the question first, since it does attempt to auto-generate you like a preferred format, and then choose your format, and then like we will do here, edit your options. So we're doing linear scale. A linear scale is like linear line. It's a number line. You get to choose the range. You can go as small as 0, and as high as 10 here. We're going to go 0 to 3. And what will happen, I'll show you a little preview. It gives you, in a linear way here, an option to vote either 0, 1, 2, 3. What we're going to add now are labels that will show up here and right here. The one that's next to your smallest number will show here, and the one that's next to your largest number will show here. The label is next to number 0. As you saw, it'll be on the left-hand side of the 0. So we're going to put, the label I decided to put is neutral. And then 3, this will be on the right-hand side of the 3. Wow, spelling. Highest rank. Hello. And so we click, if you ever want to see like what it looks like, you just click away from it. The best thing to do is click on your title card, and it gives you, this is what it will look like. So this is where students, like if Malik was his turn to vote, he would click 0 to vote, and then his peers would be able to choose between 1 to 3. And the goal with these labels is to give students an idea of like what's highest and what's lowest. You certainly could make 0 the highest and 3 the lowest if you wanted, as long as you made sure to explain that to the students. There are a lot of other things you can do to this question card. You can add an image. What I want to make sure you have an idea of is to add an image, click this. You see this little guy right here. It doesn't show up to you know where it is. Click this one, because this one right here I'll show you. We'll make a new title square altogether. So let's say, make it easy for a smiley face. That's scary. Let's do this guy. He's cute. And this is also, this is how you insert it. Never mind. So we picked a square to insert it. We just press insert, and you'll see it makes its own title square altogether. And this is actually not even a question here. This is just sort of an image. And I mean, if you wanted to introduce this in any way, you could just use this image and say, if you wanted to add more information, thanks for being here or something, you could add that if you like, and then it looks like, yeah. So that's an option, but that doesn't get the picture in the actual question card. If you wanted the picture in the question card, then you click this guy right here. And you have several options on how to add an image. You can upload it from your computer's information. So if you have an image downloaded or saved in a folder on your computer actually, then this is the place to upload it. You can also access your computer's camera. So you would have to give Google Forms permissions to access your camera, and you can take sure. If you have a URL, so maybe if you are linking to a student's portfolio or something like that, you would just type in the URL and plug it in. And then Photos is Google Photos. So Google Photos is an app connected to your Google account. I have it hooked up with my phone, and so it has all the photos that I take on my phone backed up on Google Photos. Google Drive is where all your Google documents, whether it's any of your GSuite documents are loaded, as well as other like PDFs or whatnot that you upload to Google Drive. And then Google Image Search is just the Google browser for images. And what's nice about that is everything is licensed for like public use in this one. Like within Google Suite, it's licensed, but not if you went to Google Images in general, it's not going to be it's not going to be the same thing. So let's say we just wanted a visual aid to help students remember what his presentation was about. Amazon rainforest, lovely, gorgeous, and the photo will be right underneath the question, but above the linear scale. So this is what it looks like. I'm not going to be using photos for the demo here, but if you'd like to add a photo and then to delete it, you can either click it and press backspace, or it's kind of hard to see, but you can click over here, and if you want to change the alignment, you can. This is such a wide photo that it really doesn't change much. You can also change photo, add a caption, all that good stuff, but I just want to remove it. So that is one question done, and all of them look like that. Now, it's not done actually. I completely forgot to tell you about a really important part. Slide right there. So when you slide this little guy right here, it makes a question required. Students can't submit the form unless this is slid over. So when it's gray, that means it is not required. But when it becomes a color, it is required. This color changes based on the color that you choose for the form. Since purple is the default, this is purple right now. If you just want to scrap this question altogether, delete. If you'd like to duplicate this question, you click that guy, and then I'm not going to worry about that. So for this one, since I plan on doing several questions exactly like this, I'm going to duplicate it, and I can write a different student's name here. So score, let's say Marissa's presentation about, let's use the same language, on the Sahara Desert, right? Scroll down so we can look at the rest of it. It's already marked required since it's a duplicate, and what you'll notice here is that they have a little red asterisk next to it up here in the corner, and that tells students that it's required. When we look at the preview, it'll have in the description kind of already automated that this is required, and it will not let them submit the form unless these questions are answered. I recommend making all these question cards required. That way students don't accidentally skip one or only vote for their favorites or something, blah, 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 blah. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go into the personalizing aspect of this. How do you make this all cute and decorative or however you'd like, we're going to go to this icon right here. When you hover over it, it will say customize theme. It's a little paint palette. And here is all of our options on how to change what's called the theme of the document. Sometimes it won't let me scroll all the way down, but yeah, you can change the font, background color, and the theme color. I like to start by changing the header. The header is a photo that will show up above the title here. So we're going to click this. It says choose image. Google has a lot of really high-res, quite nice photos already available for you to use, and they're already in the proper dimensions, and they have lots of different themes based on kind of what your form is about. They also have these really nice ones that are sort of animated like a GIF. I mean, they're just so cute. Look at that popcorn falling in. You can also upload from your own computer or access a photo from your Google Photos. And again, they need to be in these dimensions. I don't know the dimension exactly. Obviously, it's wider than it is long. Not a lot of photos we commonly take in that style, so I recommend just choosing one from Google's on the library here. And they're really nice, and you can usually find something close to what you want. So for this one, we've kind of been choosing their projects have been about like the Earth and whatnot. I just saw one with the Earth. Yeah, let's do this one. So this is sort of a from space view image of the Earth, and so I've clicked it. The little blue line is prompted up, and I will click insert, and it will automatically load the image. And you see what else happened here? It has automatically generated a theme color and background color. So you could change the theme color if you wanted to, and go into this color square moment, and choose around. You just move this guy around, pick a color, or if you know the color code, you can type it in. I usually don't bother with that, and I usually like the theme they automatically generate. That being said, you cannot go past your background color. It is specifically generated based on what color you choose. As you notice, every time I pick a different color, the background colors shift. I think I like for this one, yeah, we're going to do this dark, well, I really do like blue. Yeah, we're going to do this dark blue. I think, yeah, I want this sort of dark blue gray to be our background color. Last thing you can do is change your font. So they have 4 fonts available, basic, decorative, formal, and playful. Decorative only changes like the title and the questions. It doesn't change the description. I personally don't think that's great for like school use. Not everyone can read cursive. Formal is with serif. Very nice, cute. And then playful is more of a kind of handwritten, print looking font. I prefer basic because it's kind of the biggest and clearest to me. And I like, I really want to make sure all students can read exactly what it says. But yeah, you can change it. I usually don't. So when we're done, we X out of the theme. It saves it. So we see here, I want to show you, see how the color of this changed based on the theme. Before it was purple, now it's like dark, kind of a almost indigo color. So that is what it is as far as creating, right? All the questions are created, my font is chosen, my header is chosen, and you really could just stop here. I want to show you a couple more things though that you can do that will help with personalizing this and kind of making sure you're getting it all the sort of knick-knack paddywhacks that you want to get out of it, as well as kind of explaining the response section. So if you don't, this is a good place to pause. If you're like, good, I know how to make it, that's great, but I want to show you next how to send it and what settings you can also add to this, as well as responses. That'll be like what we're talking about next. So if you'd like to, pause here and make it and then come back, that's great. But this is your kind of checkpoint to do that. All right, so we're moving on then. Let's go ahead and click on settings. So settings kind of helps you decide some things about how students can interact with this form beyond answering questions. So when you click this right here, collect email addresses, it generates a new question card that is required for anyone who answers it to put in their email address. Right, bam. and it becomes kind of, it looks like it's part of the description, but when we look at the preview, it ends up not being. Boom, bada bing. For me, the way that I'm designing it, I want to do that. All the emails I have, their student name is in it. And so it's a really easy way to just not have to go back and make a question about them filling in their name. If you'd like to, that's very easy. You would just go to your toolbox and add a question. Write your name below. It has auto-generated short answer for me based on that, and that is the one I would choose. Students could write their name there. I'm going to make that required so that they have to answer that. Obviously, you could choose if you want to do multiple choice. You could have the students' names listed out, but this is just like the least likely for error, for student error, I believe. So that's an option if you don't want to do email addresses, or if students don't have email addresses. You can just have them write their name below. I just find it easier, just click that little box and it makes it for you. And my students, like I said earlier, their email has their name in it. So this right here requires sign-in. I like to limit it to one response because I don't want them to go back and continue voting, whether it's upvoting or downvoting their peers. So what it says here is respondents will be required to sign into Google. You can send these forms without this. Students will not have to sign into Google. All the students that I'm working with have Google accounts, which is the email address that they will be using when they put it in here. And so I'm not particularly worried about that. But if your students don't have a Google account, or if you're sending this to someone who's not a student and they don't have a Google account, then make sure not to click this. If it's not a big deal, then awesome. But know that if you do choose to formally, like by the settings of the form, limit it to one response, then you can't click this if you don't want them to sign in. I'll show you when we get here and here, as well as down here, on how you can almost, not by psychology, but you can almost make it to where they won't be encouraged to come back and vote on it. So let's keep going. I want mine to be limited to one response, so that's why I'm clicking. This is respondents. Respondents are the folks who are filling out your form. Can they edit after submitting? I want my students to go back and edit after they submit it. I believe the way that works is that if it counts as one submission, so it replaces the last submission that they did. If they have an issue, then I can go back and fix it manually, but I'm not particularly interested in allowing the students to go bother with it. The students that I'm working, they're in the age range where it should be right the first time. And if they have problems, they can just select. This next part says respondents can see summary charts and text responses. So we'll look at this as well in the response section, but as the host for this, you get to see the responses no matter what. You can, however, choose whether or not the people taking your form can see the results of the form, in our case, which is the voting form. So this shows them what everyone voted on. So it'll be like a graph, whether it's a linear or a pie graph, or I think you call it a circle chart or whatever, of a summary for each question. So if it's Malik's project, then it'll say 2 out of 5 people voted 3, and it'll show exactly how many voted for each one. So if they voted for 1, it'll show that 5 people voted for 1, as well as text responses would be the names. So it would show all the names, but I don't believe when it comes to this that it shows the correspondence. So I don't believe it doesn't show if Sarah voted a 1 for Malik in that case, but it does show that it got a 3 10 out of 10 times. But as the creator and host for the form, we'll be able to see all that information. But you just have to choose here whether or not you want them to. I don't, so I don't click that. I don't want them to bother about it. Their grades are private and personal. And if there's ever any mistake with how students are grading each other, or they're just being ridiculous, then you don't want it to be more of a conversation than it needs to be by letting them see the charts and the text responses. So that's everything in this little tab under General. We're going to click the next tab, Presentation. And this is all the same settings, so you'll notice oh, do I want to save that right there? Saving is when you change any of these, so you can change several things in each tab, and then click Save. Save also exits you out of this square, but it's low-key see how it's like, it saved it kind of, but to save it and change it, we'll save there. So don't worry about having to save it after we change each tab. So presentation. So presentation is about, this is during and this is after. So the progress bar, if you had several questions, like, I don't know, 30 questions or so, show them like, oh, like maybe if they're at question 15, like it's this little graphic at the bottom that shows them like, well, you're halfway done. Shuffle question order, if you're choosing, as you see in this tab here, to make this maybe like a quiz or something, or you want to, you know, mix up like sort of any like inherent bias or something that comes with ordering questions, then you could shuffle the question order. That way each form has a different order. And for this, I'm choosing not to do that because I'm choosing to put it in the order that they present, as to kind of not only help students remember who went and like what they presented about, but you know, help them kind of think about like, okay, I know Malik went and then what's her face, and then you know, I just don't need it to be shuffled, so why bother? You see this show link to submit another response is blanked out. When you click this right here, it automatically makes this not an option. So if I unchose that and came here, then it automatically shows a link to another response, but you can remove that and not, like they're not mutually exclusive. And so what this means is after they finish, they will have a confirmation message or not. And the link would be there to submit another response, but if you don't want them to, just uncheck it. So this is what I was talking about, like you can sort of almost hack your way out of limiting it to one response by not giving them the opportunity to submit the link, use the link at the end again. But yeah, and then confirmation message, I'm just going to say, thanks for voting. You can write whatever you'd like here, like you've completed the assignment, you know, email Miss So-and-so to let her know that you're done, blah, blah, blah. And you can put whatever you'd like here. And this is where this would, alongside this, when we'll look at that, when we look at the preview for this, this would where the link for another response would show. The final one, I'm just showing this for the sake of showing you, is quizzes. Make this a quiz is a really great feature if you were trying to make this a quiz. And it has all this other stuff. It's grayed out because it is not selected. Like if we turned it on, then it would do all that. We're not bothering. This is not a quiz. This is just a voting form. So we don't need it. Now I have decided all the stuff I want on this form. Bam, bam, bam. We are just going to save. Hit saving. All the changes saved in a drive. So these are sort of invisible settings that you're not going to see just by looking at your form are completed, but you'll see it when we test it out. All right, so last thing to really do is cover how you send it and then how you look at the responses. Before we do that, I want to just show you a preview of what it looks like. This little eye icon is basically kind of like, oh, see what the students see or see whoever you're sending it to see. This is what they see when you're all nice and done. I just love how clean and simple Google Forms is. Lovely. And so we'll do a test in a second. As I say, I don't believe. Yeah, we'll do a test in a second. Don't worry about that. With some of my emails when we cover over here. So you might be looking at this button that says send. Well, I'm not ready to send it yet. I don't know how I want to do it. Don't worry. Send is sort of almost a button that really should say send settings almost. So you have a couple different options on how to send. So since we're collecting email addresses down here, this is automatically checked. You don't have to do that, but it'll keep that there. You can send via email, so you can send to whoever you like. And this is where you used to put in emails. Don't put it in your friends' names or anything, but unless you want, I mean, it'll help auto-generate. So these are some of my emails. And what you'll do is, you know, I don't have access to my Baylor account anymore, but if you wanted to send it to that one, and you see there's a comma, you can keep adding comma. Let's see, another one of my emails, right? And it'll send it all to this, and this is the subject line right here for what the email will say. Now you'll notice this is the title of this form down here and not this up here. So if you don't want them have, if you don't want it to have that title, maybe you want to say due tonight voting form on final projects. You can change that, and that'll be the subject line for the email you send. And this is here is what would be in the body. So I invited you to fill out a form, and then it'll have the link for the form. It has these colons here. What you can also do is click this button right here, and it includes a form in the email. And what that kind of does is you can actually complete the entire form within the email. I think this works best on when people try and complete it on like PCs or desktop computers. But I think I have done it on a mobile phone, but at that point you're better off just clicking the link itself and doing it in a browser. Yes, so the next version of sending it that I prefer is sending it by link. So this is the full length. You can shorten the URL. There's really no point not to. Makes it a little scary looking. And so you can copy and paste it by using your keyboard shortcuts or clicking copy right here. You'll see down here is copy to my clipboard, and I can put it in an email, put it on like a Blackboard or Canvas, or send it through Remind. However, and that's just once in this link, it'll show what we saw in that preview document. Actually, why don't we just, it's copied. I'll show you exactly what I mean. I've opened up a new tab. I have pasted the link, enter, and fabulous. There it is. She's gorgeous. Just like you want. And so from this point, I will test it. Actually, we'll come back to this, and I'll show you exactly how you can look at responses. And the last one is if you were embedding this in maybe a Google site or another website, and you know coding in HTML, go ahead, because that's awesome. You can change the width and height. I'm not too familiar with what all that means. That's not what I'm bothering with, but that is an option. And then finally, you can share via Facebook or Twitter. I'm not bothering with that. You'd have to log in. From there, you'd be prompted to log in and then give Google permissions to post for you, and you'd just be better off copying the link and posting it there. That way, these websites don't have permissions to your Google account. Not your Google whole account, but basically. Okay, so one more thing I want to show you here is down here. It's called Add Collaborators. And this is like if you use any other GSuite stuff, is when you invite other people to edit the document. So this link you can send to people that you want to collaborate with, but it's not for students to edit with, like to submit their document. So don't send this link to the students, because then they will see this here, which has like your official document name and all that stuff, and they can change stuff. We don't want that. They show you can share via Gmail or Facebook, or you can just copy the link. So this shows you everyone who has access. Right now it's just me. It's private, only I can access. We could change that. Let's not worry about it though, because I'm not bothering with that today. Or you can invite people via email address, send it to whoever you like. Fabulous. We're not going to bother with that. I don't need it. My screen is not letting me show how to get out of this, but there's a little cancel button down there, but it won't let me scroll down. But we can just, come on. We don't want to send it to anybody else. Cancel. There it is. And we're done. So that's the basic on how to send it and how to get. We finished how to send it and all the settings there. So if you need to pause again, this is a good place to pause and make sure you get those settings done. The last piece here is looking at responses. The responses, I think, they did a really good job on this. I think it's really interesting and intuitive and easy to look at the responses. But if you want to go ahead and pause to go do the settings, you can. If not, we're about to rock and roll. All right, so here we see our question tab, and that's everything that we've already made. But now we're going to click onto the responses tab. Right now we have 0 responses because no one has actually used the form. We're about to do that in a second. So we are accepting responses. You see how this is slid over to blue? This means the form is open. If I want to change it to not accepting responses, you can, like you did earlier for your sort of confirmation message, say the voting period's over. What's going to happen? So this is automatically saved. If I refresh this, boom, since that was the link. Yep. This link here is only here for me because I'm already logged in, so it like knows that I'm an editor for this, but watch, we're gonna go turn it back on, refresh the page again, and it's back open. So that's an option. Yeah. So the way that we're gonna do this right now is I want to show you how to use responses by filling it out myself. So let's, wait a second. Hold up. Yeah, I forgot to click that. So I clicked it off in the send setting. So boom, I start with my email addresses again, refreshed, cool. So I'm going to pretend I'm a student and take this quiz. Actually, I'm going to fill out the voting form. So I'm using my email. I think Malik did a great job, but let's say I'm Marissa. I'm voting myself neutral. Submit. Thanks for voting. Great. You see how easy that was? When you're done, you just exit out of it. And already your response is generated. So there are 3 tabs here. You can view the response. I'm going to do this one more time. I still have it in my clipboard. It's annoying. So this is the good thing. When you're accessing it from the same, like my Google Chrome is already logged into, so it knows I'm the same person. And so I've already responded, which is exactly what I want to happen to students, is I don't want them to keep responding. I can change that for the sake of this. So we can go ahead and change it real quick. I just want to show you what it looks like when more than one student responds. So it's just like that. We'll fill it again, and I can fill it out again. So let's use a different email. I think I'm Malik. Let's say I'm Malik in this case, and I think Sarah did okay. Submit. Thanks for voting. Great. And we're done. So now we have 2 responses, and I'm going to go back and change that setting to what I wanted it to actually be. So we have 2 students here who have responded hypothetically. So we're looking at the summary version, which shows you all answers. So it shows you all of the emails that have been collected, and it shows you 2 sort of experiences that each student had. Well, it shows you the experiences each student had when they voted. So we saw this student A voted, and they voted, they voted a 0, so they're obviously Malik. And they voted, someone else voted a 3. Okay, so let me correct myself when I say this shows every possible answer that Malik's question has gotten, and this shows every possible answer that Marissa's question has gotten. Earlier I said it's a different experience. I was wrong. What I meant to say is this is all of the answers for Marissa's question, for this question 2, and this is all of the answers for the first question. So we can see that since there's a 0 voted here at all, Marissa voted, Malik voted, and this is someone else. We can go see exactly who that is by going question by question. So this is one student response. Well, we'll get to what I probably want to say. So the question 1 goes by question each response. So this is one response that was given a 3, one response that was given a 0. You can go up here to this drop-down menu and pick a new question. And okay, Marissa, someone gave Marissa a 2. Someone gave her a 0. That's because that is Marissa. And then this part I think is really interesting. This is what I meant by it shows you the whole like voting experience. This shows you the form as the student filled it out. So let's pretend this is Marissa. She filled out her email. She gave Malik a 3 and herself a 0 because she marked herself as neutral like I told her to. Thank you. So we can either drop down to a specific student or go ahead and click to the next student. And so this is Malik pretending. Malik marked himself as a 0 to give him a non-vote. And then Marissa, he said, yeah, Marissa did right. She gets a 2. Right? And so what I mean, like earlier when we voted for students not to be able to see text responses and score summaries, this is something similar to what they would see on this page here. We don't want them to see that. So that's why I wrote that. All right. So that's how you look at responses. You can look at it straight from the form. And so to see it like this, you would go to your Google Drive. Actually, I can show you. So we can even just click Google Forms again, and we know how it showed me my most recent forms. So this is the one we're working on right now. You'd click on it and then go to responses. And that's how you would, if you were not actively accessing the site like I am right now, that's how you would get there. Another way you can do it is you can look at it through a spreadsheet. The way we're going to do is we're just going to click this guy right here. This is the icon of Google Sheets. It's basically Excel, but it's in the GSuite version. So this creates a new spreadsheet. This is a Google Sheet, or you can choose an existing spreadsheet that you've made. I've never done that. I find it a lot easier just to use the Google Sheet. That's because I use the GSuite in general for a lot of stuff. The title that automatically generates is the title from up here. So class voting form, and then responses in parentheses afterward. So if you'd like to do this, we're going to press create, and then it opens up that Excel sheet in a new tab. So what we see here is one column labeled timestamp, another one labeled email address, and then from there it'll list out the questions. Now the questions aren't wrapped. If you know what wrapped is, it's a formatting thing, text wrap. They're just overflow. I like to wrap when I look at it, and it will stay that way once you format it, but it doesn't automatically do that. So what we can see here is exactly what time students filled it out. I love that. To me alone, that's a good enough reason to use look at the answers with the Google Sheets. Then it shows you the answer to the first question, which is email, and then their answers to every other question. So for whatever reason, this is the best way for you to look at that information. That's an option. I really enjoy that, and I use this sort of setting for a lot of other ways that I use Google Form. And this too is in your Google Drive, and this is the name of the document. So when you go back into your Google Drive, that's what you would search for. Okay, so we're done with that. I think that's really it. You have some other options here where you can print out the responses. You can download the responses. What this .csv is the Google Sheet. You can unlink the form, so if you don't want the Google form to automatically respond anymore, you don't have to. And then if you want a different place for the sheet to go, or if you want to get, this is cool actually, if you want to get an email notification every time someone gives a new response, and click this, and it's just enabled. So we've made this on it'll come to your Google, your Gmail, because that's what you're logged into. If you don't want it, just click it off. It's disabled now. We're going to do this one more time, actually, the test, because I want you to see how automatic the response is. So I still have the link in my clipboard every time. See, it really is good about those settings. Okay, so for the sake of another test, I turn that off, and I'm going to use, we'll use this email. I'm not Malik or Marissa. We can pretend there's another question, and I think they both did awesome. Great job, guys. Submit. So I'm done voting. Bam. Let's look at this. Do you see how quickly and automatically it inputted that information? I just think that's awesome. We love a good cloud document. So it shows I voted a 3 and a 3, and that's true. It's exactly what I did. And it is, as we saw, automatically generated in the response tab on my Google form. And you can see Malik got 2 votes of 3. That's how you read this. This is the amount of, and this will go up the more students vote. And this bottom will stay the same because this is your linear scale that you made. So 3 was voted for twice, and 1 was only voted once. This percentage looks at it as a whole, so you can, out of the 3 times, this is the percentage of times it was voted 1, blah, blah, blah. Same idea down here. Score of 3 was given 1 time, score of 2 is 1 time, score of 0 is given 1 time. Then it has a percentage of how many times out of the times that have been voted that students have gotten that response. So that's it. Using Google Forms is pretty easy. It's a lot of fun. I use it for a lot of different things. As you saw, there's a lot of other things in this tool belt we didn't even touch. There's a lot more ways to personalize this. I think when it comes to using online resources for students, the simpler and the more effective, the better. Students have different levels of access or familiarity with digital resources, even if they have smartphones, even if they're on social media, using digital resources like this can be unfamiliar. But when it's this sort of streamlined, hey, it should be sort of easy breezy for them. And if not, then you can explain it. And now that I've explained it to you, it should be pretty easy, I hope. But yeah, this is the end of the tutorial on how to make a very specific type of Google form, which is a voting form using a linear scale. I hope this was helpful, and if you have any questions, feel free to email me at the Gmail email that you saw in this tutorial, because those other accounts I'm not going to have access to forever. All right, and that's it. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys got something out of this. And until next time.